Thank you for joining us today for the Inside All Day podcast. As always, spoiler alerts ahead. Oh, hey, what are you doing in my room? Wait, what's a blip? I've been gone for how many years? I thought it was just Inside All Day. Welcome to the Inside All Day podcast, where I'm going to give you dad jokes all the time. Join as always by my beautiful wife, Nadia.
Hello.
And how you doing today, Miss Nadia?
I'm actually really excited about this subject, the MCU. It's one of the things that have been a staple in our relationship. I mean, our second date was Iron Man 3. So, which was the second day I met you, too.
Yep. Back-to-back dates.
Yeah, that's true. And ever since then, we've seen every MCU movie around our anniversary. Well, any MCU movie, but we make it a big deal when they come out around our anniversary.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. How about you, Chris? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just fine and dandy. Still high off the ride that was Thor Love and Thunder. But, I'm in a good mood. I'm ready to lay down some soft tracks for our listeners tonight. And I hope everybody's having themselves a good old time. Listeners, audience, how are you doing today? I mean, I know last time I thought you were losing weight. I still think you look great. I mean, that has to be a great new haircut you just got. I think it looks real sharp. Keep doing what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. As always, we appreciate you all being here, sharing some time with us. Before we get into it, spoiler warning.
Yes, major spoiler warning, because before we even get into the MCU, I just want to highlight one thing before we dive into both the news and Thor and then our favorite MCUs, because I'm sure everybody wants to hear what we like, right?
Yeah.
Because we're the experts, right?
My microphone told me so.
Our wallets tell us so too. I would like to, before we start, discuss another superhero genre. Is it a genre? Show. The Boys ended last week. And
if you're listening to our podcast, you would know that in our very first episode, our last episode, that we discussed The Boys.
True. Final episode for the season, which was great. I
it was really good.
What was your favorite part of it? Any scenes stick out to you?
I mean, if we're getting into spoiler territory, it was probably one of the Jensen Ackles' very last scene getting shoved right back in the tube.
Oh, yeah. I would have to say Homelander's calling out the deep A-Train and making Ashley pull off her wig and stuff. That was a really intense scene, but it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. I hope in the future we can do a full-blown deep dive into The Boys, but I would have to say this season gives it a 4.5 out of 5 for me. What about you?
I'm gonna go with a 4, and that's just because as I said in our last podcast, they always really dial it up in terms of every kind of intensity. But in this instance, we're talking about they turned it up to 11 and they snapped the knob off. So there were times it was just a little too much for me personally, but I can understand why people enjoy it. I still give it a 4. It's a solid rating. I still recommend a watch.
Yeah, and Anthony Sarwich, we'll bring him up later on today too as well. So with that being said, I think we're going to dive into some news and some theories we have, because San Diego Comic-Con is going to be the weekend after we release this episode out.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to talk about some rumors that we're hearing about the MCU in general. So hold on to your butts while we get into this episode.
Butt firmly held.
It is not. I resent that. Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
All right, Chris, we're going to get into some news. More like some news, but then some news about rumors. So rumor news? Are we a rumor mill?
And now the news.
Okay, thank you. But before we dive into the news, which will help me segue into our first news article.
Can you say news one more time?
I know, right? As of today, as recording 7 years ago, Ant-Man was released. Little clap, little yay! Which segues into my first news of the day. I wanted to share that Paul Rudd was being a real-life superhero. Apparently, there was a child bullied in Colorado to the point where he was trying to get autographs for his high school or whatever, the yearbook, and was unable to get anybody to autograph it. Mom went on social media pleading. Paul Rudd was one of the few people that responded back to him, FaceTime this kid, text this kid, and actually sent him an Ant-Man replica helmet.
A signed Ant-Man helmet.
Which was pretty baller. That was pretty cool. So I think Paul Rudd seems to be a very good human being.
And a vampire.
Man doesn't age a day, which is fine. I still remember him in Clueless. And I believe he was in Halloween 6 too as well.
You're dating yourself.
I know I am. But I wanted to share that some feel-good news on Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
hopefully he is not a garbage human being and it wasn't a publicity stunt. Hopefully.
I think we're okay.
I think so too. I think genuinely he's a good person. And what I wanted to bring up to you now, Chris, did you know?
Oh, yes, I know.
That the mutant gene was revealed in Miss Marvel as an Easter egg. Spoilers for those. I guess. I mean, if you don't know you're in spoiler territory, that's on you right now.
Yeah, so I guess at the end of the Miss Marvel season, they did a little thing where I guess one of her, what was it? It was one of her friends in the series said when he was looking at her DNA, he noticed a mutation, and then they did the little X-Men riff over it. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Do it again.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
That's pretty good.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
But isn't she an Inhuman?
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, isn't she an Inhuman?
Yes, correct.
She's not a mutant, right? Not according to comic lore.
Not according to the comics. She's not.
I mean, her power source has kind of changed too for this series.
Yeah, I mean,
as well.
we didn't really watch it. I didn't.
Not made for us.
Yeah, it's not made for our age group. That's totally cool. I'm all right with that. It just means I'm not going to watch it.
But could this be the sign of the X-Men?
I mean, for sure they've been trying to figure out how to lean in that direction. I just don't necessarily like that. I wasn't happy with that personally. Hearing that news that was their mutants.
I was really surprised by it because if she is an Inhuman, they could totally go that route. And I'm surprised they didn't use a character that's well known to be a mutant as an introduction. I mean, let's go back to WandaVision. Everybody thought we were going to get mutants with Evan Pierce showing up as
Ralph
Bonner. And I'm really surprised they used her. Well, I'm not surprised, but I'd be curious to see who the first mutant that is well known will come into play.
Well, I mean, let's look at there's a couple of things we can kind of actually even peek back at. Now we're off topic, on topic. I mean, obviously we had Professor Xavier in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, this is true.
And then also when we get into it a little bit later, in Love and Thunder. Now, I don't read the more current X-Men comics, just not my jam right now. And I guess the X-Men or the mutant population is in some capacity set up an encampment or a civilization, I should say, on Mars. And the people who already live there's a big eyeball god that you see when they go to Omnipotent City in Thor Love and Thunder. And anyway, so that was the god of the people who live on Mars.
That's pretty cool. X-Men, I grew up watching that cartoon series. I like the X-Men. A lot of people think they're annoying. Sometimes just the stories, sometimes it feels a lot like teen angst a lot of the time. Mostly because most of the time they are portrayed like young adults.
Right, but this newer, you personally might like what's going on right now. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I'm not directly reading it.
Who's your favorite X-Men?
My favorite X-Men? I mean, I don't know. That's a lot to ask right now.
All right, how about this?
That's a lot of people.
Fan cast one of your top favorite X-Men.
Well, I do like Scott Summers, and I liked 90s Scott Summers, and I found him to be even more whiny now than he used to be. But if I were to fan cast him right now, someone to be, I can't. I'm drawing a complete blank.
They're already talking about from Top Gun Maverick. I think his name is Glenn Powell or Glenn Powell.
Oh,
one of the two. Yeah.
Right.
as
I could see
Scott
that.
Summers.
Actually, that would be kind of cool. It's really funny. I didn't even do that on purpose. It's funny that you had that information ready. I know you told me that earlier, and I completely forgot about that already.
I like Rogue. Rogue is my favorite. Rogue will always be my favorite. I loved Rogue's portray in the movies and Paquin. I butcher names, so apologize. Don't look at me for names. English is not my first language. Anyway, I would cast Lily James because she recently I saw her in Tommy and Pam on Hulu, and I thought she did a fantastic job as portraying Pamela Anderson. I could definitely see her as Rogue.
All right.
That would be my
enough.
fan casting.
Very cool.
Well, moving
Definitely see that.
on, something which will relate to some things we talk about in this episode later on, but Internals is getting a sequel. Same director.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's required.
Yeah. Well, no, the end of Eternals was kind of set up for a sequel.
Just because something's set up for a sequel doesn't mean you have to do it.
That's true. And then Ryan Gosling is hoping to play Ghost Rider. But I also saw fan art earlier today portraying Keanu Reeves as Ghost Rider.
Keanu Reeves is too old for Ghost Rider.
How old was Nick Cage when he played Ghost Rider the first time?
Younger than Keanu Reeves.
Did he look younger than what Keanu Reeves looks like now?
Now, yes. I think we need to go back and we'll rewatch Ghost Rider.
Okay.
I need whiskey.
But I could see Ryan Gosling. I could see it. He's young enough.
I don't know. I mean, he's just got that.
But what if half the time his head is just a skull with fire on it? I mean, does it really matter?
Well, yeah, because it's going to be the other half of the time that it's not.
But what if a majority of the time it is?
Well, you keep counting. But what if it is?
But what if it is? I could see it though. I think a lot of people don't give Ryan Gosling enough credit. He's got some really good roles.
He's got some chops. It's just I don't know if he's got the right look for a Johnny Blaze.
I wouldn't go too much with a look. I mean, look, they casted Nicolas Cage. Point made.
Hey, listen, that is you're just looking at a man who is suffering from the unbearable weight of his great talent, or whatever the hell that movie's called.
Oh, that's true. I want to see that. So we're going to move into some San Diego Comic-Con rumors, okay? I'm going to source everything in rumor mill. I'm going to source everything in the episode listing description. I always put news sources of where we're finding this information. Next time we record, we'll know if this stuff comes to fruition or if it's still kind of up in the air. But the first one I put up on the board was the Fantastic Four rumors that are circulating. There are some casting rumors happening right now.
Well, that's exciting because I will say one of my favorite superheroes is, I think, when you talk about underutilized superheroes, Invisible Woman.
Really?
Yeah, actually, I really think so. She's legitimately could be like the ultimate spy, the ultimate she's almost can be like an ultimate assassin. One of my favorite moments was there was a time she threatened Dr. Doom with an aneurysm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah,
I mean, that's creepy, but that's dope.
It was just kind of like keep being you. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little air pocket in your brain. I
never would have taken Susan Storm like that.
Well, that's not generally how she goes. I believe he was threatening the kids.
Oh, so I've never read any Fantastic Four before, like solo volumes. I've seen them in other things I've read. They've made appearances, but I've never read just Fantastic Four. I've seen the movies. That was my opening to it. Yeah. So from the portrayal of her in the movies by the different actresses, I would not see her threatening Dr. Doom. Also, though, I've seen the portrayals of how Dr. Doom turns out, which you tell me it's nothing like it is really in the comics.
No, nobody's gotten anywhere near the magnificence that is Victor Von Doom.
But they're talking about Melissa Benoist.
Benoist?
Benoist?
You're adding an M that didn't exist.
Benoist? I butcher these people's names. I'm so sorry.
Well, good news is that right now they're probably not listening. Give it a few more podcasts.
I know, right? To play Susan Storm, but also Natalie Dyer, Nancy from Stranger Things.
I would go with, I like Melissa. Now I'm also going to try to butcher it. I'm going to say Benoist, one of those two. Supergirl. I like Supergirl for Invisible Woman, not only because I think that she would be a good cast for the role. I also just kind of like the general middle finger that would be to DC. Who just dropped her in Supergirl. Like, oh, I don't get to be Supergirl? All right, fine. I'm going to be the first woman of Marvel.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. I can't see Natalie Dyer. I just can't see it.
No, I mean, I could see it. I just don't think that's a better choice.
That's a really young choice,
I like
too.
Nancy a lot.
I like the actress.
Dyer.
But when I look at her, I don't see the first lady of Marvel.
I don't see Susan Storm.
There's also talk of Jamie Doran could play Johnny Storm. And again, might be butchering his last name. 50 Shades of Grey.
Yep. So apparently he's in some kinky fire shit now.
Actually, he's a really good actor. People give him a lot of shit. His other stuff is really good. They give him a lot of shit for it just because he was in 50 Shades of Grey. Just like Pattinson. Everybody gives him shit for being in Twilight.
But he was a pretty baller Batman.
So I could see it. But they also talking about rumor mill is another Stranger Things casting. Joe Carey as Johnny Storm.
I don't see it. Johnny Storm's a pretty boy, and listen, King Steve's a pretty boy, but not the right kind of pretty boy.
I mean, I don't know how you would be able to handle all that hair while you're in fire.
Well,
would it burn off?
No.
Does he get to keep it?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it burn off?
Because it grew with him. It is part of him. So,
but if it falls out, does it disintegrate?
Whatever you're smoking right now, I want some.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to break it down. Like his whole body, every cell in his body lights up in fire, right?
Well, I don't want to go into the nitty gritty because actually I couldn't tell you the very technical details of his superpowers.
Okay, but he usually shows up blazing, right?
Well, yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
So if his hair turns back to normal when he turns back to normal, but say his hair falls out of his head, you lose hair all the time here and there,
just randomly falls out.
Yeah.
Throughout the day.
Does it just disintegrate because it's not viable anymore because of its mutant gene?
It wouldn't be getting power from his.
Are they mutants?
From his body.
They're not mutants, right? No,
they got cosmic rays.
Oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a Reddit forum somewhere.
Guess how many issues of Fantastic Four she's read?
0.
I'll give you a clue. It's less than 1.
They're also talking about Penn Badgley.
Penn Badgley. I think you got that
Badgley.
one. No, Badgley.
Matt
Badgley.
Penn Badgley. For Reed Richards.
I don't really know too much about him. I know you said he was in
You
what?
The Netflix show You.
Oh, right.
He was the stalker in You.
I have a stalker in me? Don't we all? Wait, what?
I could see him as it because I guess John Krasinski
was a fan cast.
Fan casting, that was
a
it.
One-time thing.
Was it one-time thing? If Marvel was like, here's a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Do you want to play Reed?
I have one large pile of money for you.
And then Jason Segel as
No. It's not what he's for. I know what you're gonna say, and it's wrong. Go ahead.
What was I gonna say it for?
You're gonna say it for Ben Grimm.
That's the rumor because apparently he has a cameo in She-Hulk. Nobody knows what he's portraying in She-Hulk, and it could be a crossover.
It could be, but if it's going to be anybody, the only character Jason Segel should play for the Fantastic Four is Herbie, the little robotic companion.
I can see that
because it's supposed to be like the comic, he would be like comic relief in that capacity, and that would fit him very perfectly.
Now you say no to him playing
Segel for Herbie,
Ben, but a lot of people said no to Chris Pratt playing Star-Lord. A lot of people said no to Paul Rudd playing Ant-Man. There was a lot of hey, these comedians can't do it, and look at it now. Can you see anybody else portraying Star-Lord or Ant-Man right now?
No, but he's not built right.
I mean, he's going to be CGI'd probably most of the time. I know
he's going to be CGI, but he's supposed to be like this, not that Chris Pratt didn't get this way, right? Like this ultra fit fighter pilot, kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Ben Grimm did. Yeah, he was a test pilot.
Oh, I remember him from the movies being an old short.
You remember him being Michael Chiklis?
Yes. Yes, I do. That's forever. Obviously, never read any Fantastic Four of that. And then lastly, with Fantastic Four news, there is a still going around the internet of Doctor Doom appearing at the end of the next Black Panther.
That would be very exciting. I've seen the still. We'll throw that up on our socials. If it's real, it looks. I'd be pretty happy with that outcome. I think it looks great. I really do wonder about the casting. I'm sure there's more rumors out there for it. I do wonder about the casting for it.
I haven't heard anybody. I haven't seen anybody like repeated rumors of him playing. You mentioned
I have the perfect fan cast. The problem is they wasted him already.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the best person for the role was used as Caecilius in the original Doctor Strange, which means that Mads Mikkelsen could not play Victor Von Doom, which for whom he would be perfect. I think that would be an absolute amazing cast.
Unless it's a different universe.
Maybe. How about Tom Ellis?
Ooh, Tom Ellis would be really good.
He would need to tone down Doom's a narcissist, don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of narcissism from when he played Lucifer.
Oh, he would be from what I've seen of the movies, if we're going in what you've described to me, I think he could really, really do a great job as Doctor Doom. But I don't think he's as well known.
That's fine.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think Marvel would pick him because he's not a well-known actor in like a big actor.
He had a hit show that was popular enough to get.
He's great in a lot of. He's been on The Strain.
Services.
He's great in a lot of TV shows. I honestly, personally, outside of Marvel, I think he would be a great Harry Dresden if Dresden Files was ever brought back.
Do it. We're gonna start talking about this every episode until people start making this a thing.
But
we made Dresden Files HBO series,
and they also think Anthony Starr for Doctor Doom. I thought so, but the rumor for him now, segueing, is that he could potentially be casted for Dracula in the new Blade movie.
That would be pretty awesome.
I love him.
He's got the right kind of ego for it.
Oh, as Homelander.
Yeah.
Think of Homelander, but as a vampire.
Vamplander.
Daredevil news, because I love Daredevil, and if I can talk about Daredevil any chance I can get, I will put it in the news. I guess Daredevil and Kingpin will.
Are you a fan of Daredevil or Charlie Cox?
Both will come back in Disney Plus's new spin-off series Echo, and they are replacing. The rumor is that they're replacing
Elodie Young
with as a Gonzalez. Thank you, Gonzalez. As Elektra. I'm really worried about Daredevil on Disney Plus. I'm very worried about it.
Yeah, they did a great job on Netflix. Kind of kept that edge that it really needed. Because
they could make it TVMA. Mm-hmm. They could spread the story out. They could give it justice. They could give Hell's Kitchen justice. And I worry, because of what I've seen Kingpin in Hawkeye series, that they are going to water it down a little bit so it's a little bit more appropriate for a larger age range, and it's going to lose the magic that Netflix established when they brought Daredevil to screen.
Yeah, I fear that a little bit as well. That's I know the House of Mouse has a lot of money to kind of put out there for whatever they want to make and however they want to make it. They have the ability to pretty much do whatever they want if they actually set their minds to it. The problem is I'm not sure they're going to want to do what made it great.
Yeah. Well, I'll be on board to watch it. I'll see with a cautious eye, but I love Daredevil. Daredevil is one of my favorite MCU characters. Daredevil, love reading Daredevil, watching it, even that bad Ben Affleck movie.
Can you say Daredevil one more time?
Daredevil.
Thank you.
I'm just putting it out there. Charlie Cox as Daredevil. I felt so bad. Do you remember the story back a couple weeks or months ago when Spider-Man No Way Home was released and he went to go see it in theaters with his wife, and he said that like nobody cheered, but when we went to go see it,
theater.
It was like nobody's theater. Everybody was like, "What?
How did you not love? I thought it was one of the best lines of the movie was, "I'm a really good lawyer."
Yeah. Well, do you have any other news to share, Chris? Any other rumors?
No, I think we're definitely getting good on rumors here. I do know we have just a few rumors left. Now we talked about, Glenn Powell playing Scott Summers potentially. I also heard Henry Golding's potentially up for playing Wonder Man, and an interesting casting choice, Giancarlo Esposito to play Professor X.
I could see it.
I mean, he's definitely got the cerebral approach for it.
Definitely. He was in The Boys.
Or should I say the cerebro approach for it?
Which he was great in The Boys, but I obviously know him from Breaking Bad. You occasionally caught an episode while I was watching it, but I could see him being the new Professor X. I was curious to why. I was very surprised that the younger one, James McAvoy, not taking up the role. Maybe he doesn't want to do it.
Maybe not. But I mean, I think I would love to see Fassbender come back for Magneto.
Oh, yes.
And
so
however, I do really feel that you shouldn't bring back one if you're not bringing back both.
That's true. Yeah, I could see that. But also the last bit of news. Last bit before we move on to our Thor Love and Thunder review.
Hit me.
There's talks of a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi at the helm.
Ooh, that'd be interesting to see.
Youth Pasture.
Yeah, Youth Pasture Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be excited to see it. I know I heard at one point there was a rumor that it would be a digital
Animation.
Like an animation. And so it would just be the voice acting.
Yeah. I feel like Andrew Garfield deserves more of a third movie than Tobey Maguire deserving a fourth.
Andrew Garfield, bring him back.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man, but supposedly he's retired from acting for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. So that's the news.
My name is Marvel, and I have a giant bag of money. What are you doing right now?
That is our rumor mill news for today. Hopefully, when we record our next episode and release it, we will compare and see what came from San Diego. We'll cover San Diego Comic-Con.
Absolutely.
All the news that's comes from there.
What we were right about, what we were wrong about, and everything else.
And maybe we'll have some Mephisto rumors.
No, I think they're going to steer clear of Mephisto at this point.
Why didn't you call me? I don't have a phone, but you could have sent an electronic letter, called an email.
All right, we're going to get into our review of
Thor Love and Thunder.
And I don't know if the audience can hear in the background, but it has been thundering and raining for the last few minutes. So if you do hear it, I guess it's appropriate.
Thor has granted us his boon for this podcast. That's what's happening.
So we both went in not knowing what to expect.
Right. I mean, Ragnarok was fantastic, but could Taika Waititi and crew do it twice?
Also, because Taika Waititi didn't write Ragnarok.
No.
He wrote Love and Thunder.
Right. There was a lot of cooks in the kitchen on Ragnarok.
So could he pull it out again?
I mean, I think we have a mixed answer.
Yeah. Some of it I liked. Some of it I didn't like.
I think I was a little more positive on it than you were.
True. We'll start from the start. Let's start from the top. The opening of it. The opening opens up with Gore and his daughter, Love, struggling in a desert. Despite their prayers to the god they worship, which I believe is Rapu. Love dies from dehydration, malnourishment, just dies. And when they opened up with this scene, I was like, wow. First of all, you killed a child within a few minutes of a movie, which is off, like, not what Disney's known for, right?
It's normally the parents that go.
Yeah. And for them to kill a child, but I was like, oh, this is Christian Bale. This has got a really serious tone set into it. Like, okay, all right, okay. And I like Jane Foster's Mighty Thor, the comic run. So, and you do too.
I love it.
It's one of your favorites. So I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to go in it. So he meets up with his god, pleads.
Well, he
just stumbles across them.
After burying his daughter, he hears something calling out to him that draws him to
his god.
Yeah.
Like an oasis.
Yeah.
And he's, telling this god, like, hey, we worshipped you. We're ready to reap our rewards. We give our life to you, all that stuff. And this guy just pretty much laughs in Gore's face.
Yep.
Meantime,
the only thing you're around to do is pray and prostrate yourself before me. Prostrate yourself before me. Prostrate yourself before me. And and then you die, and that's all you're good for.
While he's dismissing Gore the whole time, some dude's behind him, dead, with
the wielder of the necro
sword. Just chilling out there, and starts calling to Gore. And Gore picks it up and kills Rapu.
Yep.
And that starts off, that's not even, and then we get to opening credits of the movie.
Right.
Sad thing about that, not sad, but disappointing thing about that is that is the only god we get to see Gore kill on screen.
Yeah.
We don't get to venture with Gore throughout this journey. We don't see how the necro sword corrupts him. All we get to see is little Easter eggs.
What's she saying?
During his signal.
Sweet 80s montage of god death.
It would have been pretty cool. I thought if we could get a little bit more of Gore, especially with Christian Bale. Christian Bale was phenomenal.
Did a fantastic job.
Holy cow. Elevating everything about it. Great. So after Gore kills several gods, we then kind of cut over to Thor.
Yeah.
Thor has been
chilling with the Guardians post Endgame.
Having such a man, I feel so sorry for him. Had his mom died, his dad died, his brother died a couple of times.
Right.
His best friend died in front of him. His home was destroyed.
He blames himself for half the universe missing out on 5 years.
Thanos kicked his ass the first time. Just like a whole bunch of shit happening to him.
So
and
he's just trying to find himself.
Yep. And he's hanging out with the Guardians, getting distress calls. He's basically waiting on top of a mountain until somebody needs him to help him.
Yep.
And it opens up with him, with the Guardians, trying to help a bunch of people who you start to kind of get the Easter eggs of their god is dead too. You don't realize it until later on. But what I didn't like about that whole thing was that was the only time we got to see the Guardians.
Yeah, the trailers all really set it up as like the Guardians are going to be all over this film, and then they just 100% weren't. They were there for, 15 minutes, and then that was it. And later, bye.
And
bye, guys.
I was really hoping for a Thor Guardians
team up.
I thought that would be really cool. And it's sad too. James Gunn also confirmed he's not going to be in the new Guardians either.
That doesn't surprise, especially after the way Love and Thunder went, does not surprise me.
And while he's with the Guardians, he gets a distress signal from one of his people.
They open up looking see if there's any distress signals. There's a ton of them.
I guess one from Sif, one of his friends.
So he parts way and the Guardians, and he goes to find Sif.
Sif warns Thor that the Gore's next target is going to be New Asgard. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we're reintroduced to Jane Foster. It's been a hell of a long time since Natalie Portman's been in a Thor movie. Yeah, even the Endgame scenes, that was footage not used during the Dark World. Yep. So she didn't come back for that. We learned that she has cancer, terminal cancer, too. And she's still trying to work as well on top of everything. And she's not listening to the universe to basically sit her ass down and heal and calm down and take a break.
While doing her research, she remembers that, hey, what we thought is magic is kind of real. She sees a book about Norse mythology and decides to go visit New Asgard.
Yep. And the funny thing about that is there is a deleted scene, or not a deleted scene. I saw somebody who was able to record Natalie Portman being hiked into the air and moving around when she first becomes Thor. Mm-hmm. There's actually a scene of her powering up.
Yeah, it is a little weird that they skipped that.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird too. So Thor ends up going back to New Asgard at the time too. In New Asgard, Valkyrie is King Valkyrie currently right now as well. Dealing with being a diplomat, and making the town into a tourist spot, which there's one tourist spot that was really weird.
They fought in the war. That's why they have the Infinity Cone. They fought for
the Infinity Cone has the gauntlet. Why would you want something that reminds you of 5 years of people disappearing and then coming back and all the the hectic and chaos that came with it, losing your loved ones and then coming back and finding your actual loved ones have moved on too. Why would you want to go get ice cream reminding you of that?
Because maybe their motto is, our ice cream's so good you'll forget the last 5 years.
Maybe. Do you think their ube flavor is a Thanos flavor? Thanos ube?
Wait, no, that just made it creepy. Do you think their ube flavor is Thanos flavored?
Do you? Like it's a, like a purple.
Moving on.
All right, so Thor comes back. There's some fighting. Some Shadow Realm monsters show up from Gore. There's a little back and forth.
And then Meow Meow shows up.
And then we find out that Foster has turned into the mighty Thor. Her costume looks really dope. His costume, not too much. Her costume looks really dope.
I wasn't a big fan of his costume, but I also liked, and this was one of the things I was reading online that somebody pointed out to me. In fact, I believe you shared the article with me. So it was that her design is more reminiscent of the armor he wore during Thor Dark World, because that was the last time she had seen him.
Mm-hmm.
So her aesthetic was also mirroring what she thought what Thor would look like.
Yeah. I liked I liked her costume a lot.
I liked when he had the fur and the leather. That was cool. But yeah, the gold and blue, and I know it's
helmet.
the 80s armor when he was it cursed with hollow bones, as I think it was.
That awful.
Yes, the winged 80s helmet, which I want to go back and double check. I swear they toned that down from how big it originally was.
I don't know. Anyway,
I still think it's too big.
Battle happening. Awkward exes meet each other, right?
Absolutely.
You get the tension, even between the hammers too.
Yeah, right. That's one of the more fun parts of the movie is, Mjolnir. It's all the little stolen moments with Mjolnir and Thor.
But the thing is, in the comics, Jane ended up being worthy to carry it, right?
Yes, Jane was worthy to carry it.
But in the movie, when you go through the flashbacks of their relationship before they break up, Thor actually whispers for Mjolnir to protect Jane.
Mm-hmm.
But in the comics, I believe the hammer is its own entity, right? There was a goddess that evokes it.
God of the Tempest is in there, but that wasn't. I don't know how far back they had that planned at that point.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's something that's going to be relatable to the MCU on screen. But it's interesting because it also brings up the fact that, does Thor really need a hammer to wield his powers?
No,
because we saw
Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Are you the god of?
But how long has it been since? How long has it been since he's been able to do that? Because if he's able to tell his hammer, "Hey, protect her in all ways you can,"
yeah,
that's his own power being almost like bled into the hammer, right?
Well, yeah, he essentially enchanted the hammer, just like in the very first Thor movie when Odin did the whole should they be worthy?
That's true.
Bit. It's the exact same thing. He just didn't realize he was doing it.
So while they're on New Asgard, Gore steals the children.
Yep, in the world's creepiest cage.
That was the creepiest scene, though, too. The shadow creatures grabbing these kids.
Yeah.
By the way, where are all the dads?
Everybody's out in the streets fighting.
Yeah, but
you would have thought they would have left somebody with the kids.
Yeah, or something. So kids are gone. So Valkyrie, Jane, and Thor team up to go basically get these kids back. And Korg. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Taika Waititi's way of putting himself in his own movie.
Yep. Hey, good for him. I'd do it too.
So they realize they need some help. So they want to form an army of the gods.
So they go to Omnipotent City where somebody flicks too hard. And it was pretty interesting to see all the different gods that they came across when they were in Omnipotent City.
Yeah, and the different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I love the inclusion of it. I love myths and folklores and mythology and all that stuff. It was great to see gods of different cultures that you wouldn't expect. It really made me miss American gods a lot.
Yeah, for those who had a chance to see that or have any interest, we do strongly recommend the American Gods series. This has been our American Gods Minute.
And then we have Zeus played by Russell Crowe, which
I thought was amusing and you didn't.
because every time I saw him speak, I was like, Dad, is that you?
Right, I forgot that's how you felt.
Because it was my dad. My dad is of Mediterranean descent. So if you never have to meet my dad, you just have to watch Russell Crowe as Zeus in Thor Love and Thunder. And then you get an idea of my dad. Zeus doesn't want to help Thor.
Nope.
Turns out. Doesn't want to help. Thinks that Gore is just killing these like C-lister gods. He'll never reach the A-listers. It's not their problem. Turns out that Gore actually has a different plan in mind. He's searching for eternity
Yeah.
to make a wish to basically dispose of all types of
Right,
gods.
the first person to get to the end of eternity.
And Zeus is like,
That's one wish.
he'll never get there.
Is that your impersonation of your dad or of Zeus?
Zeus. My impression of my dad is different. He'll never get there. But Thor's like, no, man, he's going to get there. We need some help. So what does Thor do? Ends up killing Zeus.
Well,
After Zeus destroys Korg, kills Zeus with his own lightning bolt.
yeah.
Grabs a lightning bolt and was like, forget it, we don't need these gods. And they like book it out of there.
Yep. Like, we got what we need. And bounce.
In the
So they
meantime,
go-
also, Stormbreaker has become like a summon for the Biofrost, and they've attached it to a ship
with the goats.
with that meme that was not funny 5 years ago. That's supposedly now overplayed now. Listen, those goats were okay the first time, the second time, even the third time, even when he said he'll eat them if they don't shut the fuck up. But
You're so aggressive right now.
it was too much, man.
Eat 'em if they don't shut the fuck up.
It was just every time they were on screen and they how do goats go? Meh.
I'm not doing it.
Like
no, I'm
or
no.
I don't know. Whatever goats
Stop
make.
trying to do goat
Anyway.
sounds for the internet.
So during this whole time we find out that Jane, who is trying to figure out her catchphrase and what she's going to be called, her strength's actually been drained each time she's wielding Mjolnir.
Right, because every time she picks up the hammer and gains the power of Thor, she gains that godly constitution, clearing any poisons from her system, including the chemo that's fighting her cancer.
Yep. So when they go fight Gore for the first time, she gets injured.
Well, she most importantly finds out that he's actually after Stormbreaker for the ability to control the Bifrost, using it as a little cheat to get to the end of eternity.
Yep. And we also get Valkyrie injured at the same time as well. So after Jane is injured the first time, Thor takes her to the hospital, tells her, like, if you pick up this hammer one more time, you will die.
It will kill you.
It will kill you. And this whole time, Jane is trying to accept her mortality.
Kind of going through the stages of grief.
Yeah. I liked it that I really didn't think they were going to do the whole cancer thing. And for you, it related a little bit more for you than for me. Because with me a couple years ago.
To you as well. But
that's true.
I was in more of a Thor capacity and you were in more of a Jane Foster capacity.
For our listeners, just a recap for you. A couple years ago, I was diagnosed with a really rare disease that they initially thought was bone-eating cancer.
Yeah, no, the direct quote was, you have spine-eating cancer.
Spine-eating cancer.
I'm going to give you a minute, and then leaves it around.
It turns out it wasn't. Thankful for that.
But during that whole time, I got to watching Jane try to fight the futile fight of, her own against her own mortality. It just really, for me, it's one of the things I think really drove this movie home for me. It reminded me of watching my wife here go through a lot of the same struggles.
Yep. And on my end, I can understand not wanting to accept your fate, wanting to fight. Obviously, I don't have cancer. I just have a really rare disease that hinders sometimes my mobility and just sometimes quality of life, but it's not to the extent of having cancer.
No.
But I can understand the will and want to just keep fighting and keep moving, and just if you constantly are moving and doing things, you don't have to think about it.
Right.
And that's where I could relate to it. So afterwards, Thor basically goes to confront Gore and to save the children. We get a really cool scene where he invokes all his powers into the kids so they can fight the Shadow Realm.
Well, I think it was so interesting though, because he has the blue lightning and he gives them the yellow lightning. I think what he was really doing was giving them the power of Zeus.
Yeah, I could see that. That's interesting because you're right. He's
Using
more
the
blue
power
and
of the
yellow.
Thunderbolt, because they were all powered up yellow.
So he's going after him and Gore going after it, and obviously it looks like he's going to lose. Jane feels it.
Last second shows up,
dies,
saves the day.
Saves the day, and that's why she's welcomed into.
Well, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Yes, that's true. And then Thor follows Gore into.
Gore makes his way into Eternity, having used Stormbreaker as the key to get through. And from there, Gore is faced with Eternity, and Thor is there to try and talk him out of it.
He implores on Gore to revive his daughter instead of destroying the gods.
How about instead of killing the gods, you right their wrongs and bring your daughter back instead? And that's what he ends up doing. And of course, at the same time, Thor is saying his final goodbyes to Jane.
Yep.
Who sacrificed herself in this fight. And from there, Gore and Jane both pass, but not before asking Thor to raise this child.
Who they name Love.
Well, her name was Love, yeah.
Which, fun fact, is actually Chris Hemsworth's real daughter.
Right, and of course, when they were showing Thor getting older in that opening scene, that was his son that plays him as really young.
In the aftermath, Korg's body is restored. He starts a new family with Dwayne
The Rock.
Dwayne The Rock, which I thought was pretty.
I didn't get that joke until I was
pretty
in the car.
Pretty cute. Foster sacrifice is honored in New Asgard. They put a really cool statue up for her and her full-blown mighty Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Valkyrie and Sif begin training children. Thor adopts Love, who joins him on his heroic adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Who will be wielding Stormbreaker while Thor is back together with.
So weird when they showed that scene when he handed her. It's funny they give the little girl the giant axe.
Yeah,
but also like after watching Chris Hemsworth's Thor wield Stormbreaker for a little bit now, Mjolnir just looks so small
compared to him. Yeah. So I liked some parts of this movie. Some parts I didn't. There was an end scene credit, obviously. We get introduced to Hercules, which you liked.
Zeus didn't die.
Yeah.
Hercules shows up. Hercules is pretty fun in Marvel Comics. She always give him a read. And then, of course, you get Jane Foster shows up in Valhalla because she died a warrior's death. And so she gets to go there, which, of course, doesn't just mean that she died. It also gives her the chance to come back as Valkyrie, which is actually what happens, or as a Valkyrie. Is what happens in the comics.
Yeah. I think my top thing for this movie was I definitely liked Christian Bale. I thought he was phenomenal. Again, I wish there was a little bit more gore on the scene. I really would have loved to follow his adventures of finding these other gods.
I think his best scene was when he was kind of like mentally torturing those kids.
Oh, in the
you were
cage?
Like, it
was so Pennywise.
Yeah, he's like Pennywise, and I go, no, I see. To me, man was auditioning for the Joker.
I liked the fact that they actually killed off Jane. I know that's weird to say, but normally in some of these movies, they try to tie it into a happy ending.
But she can come back as Valkyrie.
We don't know yet. It kind of sets it open to it if Natalie Portman does want to come back. We don't know. I also like that they grounded Valkyrie a little bit this time around.
Why they didn't just make her a rampaging drunk?
Yeah. And a little bit of growth. You get a little bit more of her backstory and how much she's suffering from losing the love of her life on the battlefield.
Yeah, but at the same time, Tessa Thompson
only has one test.
She acts at one speed.
That's true. What things I didn't like about it? Goats.
Yeah, some of the humor was a bit offbeat. I generally thought the humor was pretty on par, but there's some parts that were kind of drew you out of the scene.
Yeah, where I feel in Ragnarok, they were able to mix it better together. They were able to break the tension with some humor, where here I felt like some jokes fell flat.
Yeah.
Some were a little cringy on it. Definitely I could see Taika Waititi throughout the whole, he was there, Korg, but like himself throughout the whole
You could see his
movie.
touch on the whole film.
I would give it a 3 out of 5 if I was going to be honest, because the sets also felt cheap too to me. It felt too heavily reliant on CGI.
Too much green screen for you?
Yeah.
I'd probably place it a lot higher than that. I'm definitely somewhere in the high 4s. For me, like I said, though, every movie hits everybody differently for different reasons. And, everybody's not going to have that same emotional experience I had with Jane Foster dying of cancer, bringing back some of those memories when I thought what was happening in my life. So being able to relate like that, I definitely probably give it a much higher score. I'm not going to give it a definitive answer right now. I'm going to want to see it one more time before I do that. But I'm going to say high 4s.
Interesting. Okay. Well, hope you enjoyed our review of Thor Love and Thunder. We're going to get into some MCU movies that we love and some that we
maybe not love so much.
Don't love so much, right? So I hope you enjoy it. Give us some feedback on what you thought Thor Love and Thunder. Leave us a review, comment. Just, hit us up.
Most importantly, did Zeus flick too hard? Let us know on social media.
Avengers! Assemble.
All right, since we're talking about the MCU, I thought we'd take a moment to talk about our top 3 and our bottom 3 movies. We're going to be sticking with MCU movies. We're not going to include the shows. I think Sony and MCU movies are included in this too. Anything the MCU has worked on.
Fair.
I would say. Okay, so let's start with something we love, right?
Okay, let's start. Yeah, and these are in
no order.
Particular order.
One of my top 3
sure
would definitely have to be Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was great. I think it's James Gunn at his best. I think James Gunn really knows how to work this genre. I also like the fact that it was unknown. Nobody knew what the Guardians was going to be like. It's not really a well-known comic book for people to pick up. It's not one of the mainstreams.
I mean, that was one of the big things coming out. Was everyone went kind of like, really, Chris Pratt and
Star-Lord?
What the hell is Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought the chemistry with the cast was great. Overall, I just thought that whole movie, I could go back and watch it, listen to the soundtrack all the time.
Literally, I just kind of did. I'm Star-Lord. Who?
What about you? What is the one that you love, Chris?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take one of the easy picks here because one of us has to say it. I will jump on Endgame. I mean, how can you not pick Endgame as one of the best Marvel films? Really, the culmination of 10 years of work, unprecedented amount of big name actors all being brought on one screen, being given, decent amount of screen time. You get to see how all these characters have progressed throughout the years, and this one final culmination, you finally get that Avengers Assemble feeling. A lot of great story, a lot of great loose ends wrapped up, and some just fantastic fan moments in there for everyone.
I would have to agree with you. Endgame is great. It's not in my top 3, but I can go back and watch Endgame anytime when I have 3 hours to spare.
Just throw it on the background.
Yeah, just throw it on the background. I remember when we first saw it in theaters and then we saw it again. And then anytime we would go see another movie while it was still playing in theaters, if we had some time beforehand, we would sneak in to see
we would.
Endgame. But we would always catch it at the battle scene too.
Super lucky timing.
So I thought it's great. I thought the opening night we went to go see it, we had a great crowd too.
Yep.
10 years of really hard work put together, intertwining all these stories. Fantastic. Not my top 3, but I would agree with you.
No, it's good. Now, I will say that one sits probably on the outside. Now, I said no specific order. But that probably sits on my outside of my 3 because number 1 just feels like a necessary pick. And number 2, I mean, come on, there were some plot holes. They existed. There was some, they happen. Plot holes happen.
That's true. Like
let's
taking
get that
one.
Merch going. Let's get that merch going right now.
One of the strongest characters in the MCU just to handle a break of water. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how to play out that's how to level out the playing field, right?
Just make one giant portal for the water to go into and let it spill right back into the ocean. I'm like, okay, we just leave that set. Let's go. I got this.
Well, moving into a movie I hate. Do you mind if I take the lead on this one?
Hate? We're going with a strong word there.
I wouldn't say hate, Bottom 3. A
Bottom
movie
3.
I wouldn't have to watch again. Like,
If I never saw it again, I'd be okay.
yeah, unless it came on like late night TNT movie night thing and it's like playing in the background and
my
I was
remote's
like,
broken.
and it was like edited really bad. Eternals.
Yep, that's on my bottom. In fact, I think our bottom 3 are going to be relatively close.
Eternals is what happens when you take an award-winning director who's never dealt with this genre before and said, "Hey, make an Academy-worthy MCU movie. Do it." And you got the most boring thing
She must still be
I've
working on it.
ever seen. There's a sequel coming out,
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
don't understand it. One thing I really didn't like about it was it dropped you into the middle of the action. You actually had to know who these characters were going ahead of time, and then they utilized flashbacks to let you know who
What
was
was
what.
going on? Right.
And I didn't like that. I thought it was just so boring. That movie,
Everything was flat and listless.
so dark too. The whole thing
I mean,
was
like
just
actually
so
dark.
Yeah, actually dark.
Like hard to look at. What's going on in that corner of the screen? I can't tell.
Maybe Eternals 2 will redeem it. Maybe not. But I really think they missed the mark with that one.
I think you would agree with me when I say that it's bad when the most redeeming part of the movie was the trailer for the little end scene with Dane Whitman and the ebony blade.
Yes. And
then you hear Blade in the background.
Yeah, that movie was.
I do want to give some shout outs here because I did think that some of the special effects were kind of cool looking.
The costumes were a little but the special effects were good. I also thought that what they were trying to do was recapture Guardians, where they were taking something that was not very well known outside the comic community and then tried to capture that magic again with the Eternals, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, trying to get that unknown. Well, once again, trying to catch that unknown lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah. Back to a movie. Do you want to take this one? What's another movie you love?
Another movie I love, and this is going to be, it's interesting because I know she has one on her list that kind of falls under this same very, very broad category of I enjoyed this movie because to me, it just wasn't like other Marvel movies. And for me, very high in my list, Winter Soldier.
Right. You love that movie.
It's so good. You get some of that Marvel funness without it being too overly super powered. And then you get that fantastic fun, like classic spy thriller.
I would say, while it's not in my top 3, I like it that it's a movie that you don't have to know what's going on in the MCU to watch, and it can seriously just be a spy thriller.
Oh, absolutely.
With some guy dressed up as Captain America.
I mean, I think one of the coolest Captain America moments in all of MCU is when he flees the SHIELD base. And I love when he takes out the Quinjet, just goes riding out on his motorcycle. Yeah, there's lines up on the Quinjet and just shields the shit out of this thing. It was awesome.
I also liked how on your left, was brought back in Endgame as well.
Yeah, right.
That was great. Yeah, I could see that. For me, my second one would be Ant-Man. I liked Ant-Man.
So
again,
good.
Paul Rudd, nobody really thought of him as Ant-Man. He got so much shit for it when he was casted as it. It's a fun movie.
Well, it's another very different Marvel film.
It's mixed of comedy and seriousness, was really well put together. I thought, Baskin Robbins line is still used today. People still use it today. And I thought the costume design was great.
I mean, clearly they took some design cues in Love and Thunder with Korg doing the storytelling, because I got a little bit of Luis vibes from it. Now, it wasn't as fast and furious as Luis, but yeah, Ant-Man was a great movie with some great characters. I love Luis. There was obviously Paul Rudd did a great job. Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. And
Michael Douglas.
Right. Michael Douglas out of left field is Hank Pym.
I thought it worked really well.
Oh, no, I thought it was great.
Back to a movie I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our list is pretty much the same, so I'm going to say it. Black Widow.
Yeah, I think I like Black Widow.
I like Black Widow's character. Okay, hear me out, people, before you turn us off. Black Widow movie would have been more impactful if it happened before Endgame. Because spoilers, if you haven't seen Endgame by now, she dies in Endgame. And I think the storyline of wanting family, knowing who to trust and stuff that this movie was trying to encapsulate would have been more impactful to go back and rewatch if it came in the order of before Endgame. This movie was delayed too many times. This character deserved a solo film way before any of the other movies. And I thought it was just, the story was all over the board. Between her past, the school, to the present. There was no character development or empathy. You were automatically, I think they automatically assume like you're supposed to care for this character because she's so well loved in the MCU universe anyway, right? And I think it just did not play out well for her. I did like Florence Pugh.
Yeah, I think Florence Pugh was really the highlight of that film.
As
Yelena Belova, I got you.
Her humor, so great. What do you do with the hair thing when you do the this and this?
You land like this, and then you do the hair just goes.
Why do you do this? I thought, and I liked the Red Guardian added. I thought
still fits.
I thought they utilized Taskmaster.
Oh, it's one of my favorites, and I know total C-lister. And there's nothing wrong with having a favorite C-lister. The problem is I just love Taskmaster. Cool character, always fun, always an interesting way to develop it. And by the way, if you ever want to find yourself something fantastic to read, Marvel related, I do always recommend Taskmaster Unthinkable.
I think Taskmaster would have been a better villain for the upcoming new Captain America.
No, he would have been amazing for Spider-Man.
That's true.
Movie.
That's true. I thought it was just kind of like, hey, let's figure out a villain that's not really well known. We can just utilize and just stick it. And
just what a it was a stinker.
But I think that movie could have been a lot better if it came out in a different order,
better timing
for it.
I like the costuming though.
Back to a movie I love, and I'll take a lead on this last one, Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah, that's also on my list.
This movie was such a great mix of nostalgia and new stuff. It made me appreciate Andrew Garfield more. Had a lot of heart into it. Like, I cried multiple times in multiple scenes. The good guys don't always win everything, which I thought was great. Tom Holland just knocks it out of the park as Peter Parker. Like,
oh, he certainly does.
He's a great Peter Parker, a great young Peter Parker. I love the throwbacks to the memes. What about
everybody's favorite youth pastor?
Right. I love the throwback to the fact that Toby hurt his back in the original ones. And they threw it back to it.
Had to pop his back on the
Andrew. The reason why this movie stays in my top 3 is the Andrew Garfield redeeming scene. The redeemed scene where he's able to save Zendaya's Mary Jane. Mm-hmm. And when he wasn't able to save his love, his Gwen, I'm holding back tears right now. I thought that was so powerful. That was so good. A lot of things in that movie. The fact that Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker started saying, like, I started to get angry. I started not to hold back my shots. And I thought that was a callback to the comics, because I believe there's a comic line, and I can't remember which volume it was, where Doc Ock takes over Peter Parker's body.
The Superior Spider-Man.
Thank you. And realizing that Spider-Man was holding back his punches.
It's been a minute since I read it. I believe he punches the Scorpion's jaw off.
And then
just never realized he'd been holding back this whole time.
And I thought that was a cool callback. If that wasn't a callback to it, I like to think it was a callback to it. Called to the comics. Overall, I thought it was great. It was really refreshing.
I wanted to say that I loved Andrew Garfield, as you were saying before that. This really made you really reappreciate him. I want to take this moment while we're committing this to record. I have always liked Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. So all of you posers who saw this movie and then went, oh yeah, no, I loved him the whole time, get in line, because I was a fan first.
That's true. I was not a fan first.
But let's talk about the one, the not the purple elephant in the room. Let's go with the Green Goblin in the room. Holy
Willem
cow. I mean,
Dafoe?
okay, all of the Sinister Six was great,
But Willem
Dafoe was amazing.
tries to do his own stunts. What is he, like in his late 60s, early 70s?
I think he's in his 50s.
No, he's older than that.
Is he?
Dude does his own stunt. Dude is a machine. That guy is a beast.
Oh yeah, man, he's 66 years old.
Oh my!
As of July 22nd. Well, hold on, we're at July 22nd yet. Upcoming, it's almost his birthday. He's about to be 67.
He can hold his own.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't know, when you go back and rewatch that movie, and you definitely should, he wanted to be as involved in the fight scenes as he could. So he did a lot of, like, when you go to the first big fight at Happy's apartment, he did a lot of that himself.
That's crazy to me.
I mean, 67, throwing this kid around, slamming through walls, through floors, getting tossed around himself. I mean, it was impressive.
Well, I don't think Green Goblin is one of the best Spider-Man villains in the comic world. I think in the film world, like throughout all the films, all the MCU villains that were utilized against Spider-Man, I think Willem the Green Goblin is probably one of the best.
No, for sure. But you were going to be crucified for that Green Goblin comment.
Whatever. I'm sure there's other people who think so. Just how people think the Joker's kind of overplayed for Batman. The Green Goblin sometimes is overplayed in the comics for Spider-Man. There are other cool villains, but I think visually speaking, when you look at both the Tobey Maguire series, 3 movies, and now with No Way Home, Green Goblin stands out each and every single time. And I think most of that also has to do with Willem Dafoe's performance of him.
Oh, absolutely. That's another one of those little fun facts in case nobody ever knew this one. If you go back and watch whether it is the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or with the newest No Way Home, you can actually tell when the Green Goblin personality is taking over because he has false teeth on when he is being Norman Osborn. So he's got really nice straight teeth. And then Willem Dafoe's natural teeth are aren't as straight as a set of veneers. So when he goes into that Green Goblin mode, their veneers are removed and it just gives him a little bit more of a wild look.
Yeah. And my final movie that is in my bottom 3, which it was really hard not to put Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Badness, Sadness.
And definitely not Gladness.
And definitely not Radness into here, is Captain Marvel.
And I'm going to join you in that one as well.
Captain Marvel felt very much like a filler movie before Endgame. Brie Larson has one facial expression she utilizes for every single scene in that movie.
In fairness, so does Tessa Thompson.
That's true. But also, Brie Larson only utilizes one emotion throughout that movie.
And I don't think that's necessarily because she's playing a character.
I think that's just Brie Larson.
I think it's Brie Larson.
And
I mean, I dug the 90s vibes. That was cool. I hated, we've been waiting for years. Oh, speaking of failed promises like Budapest in Black Widow, the failed delivery on how Nick Fury lost his eye.
By a cat?
Well, I mean, it was a flirkin, but that was flirkin stupid.
But I will say for that movie, I did like the introductions of the Skrulls. I thought that was pretty cool.
I enjoyed Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn was really cool. I think, and I was telling you this earlier, you look back at that movie and it's actually really sad, his story in it. I mean, he doesn't know where his family is. He knows his family's safe, but he wants to get to his family. He has to approach the enemy and hopefully turn their ideas of them around so that they could help them just reunite with his family. Mm-hmm. And all this time he's with comedic relief on it. I thought it was played very well. Again, not a movie I would have to go back and rewatch, not something I would rewatch. That's why it's in my bottom 3. But yeah, I feel it was definitely a filler just so that we could get a Captain Marvel for Endgame.
Now, I will say we'll both agree on this. Honorable mentions in terms of our bottom. I would say in our fourth place slot, in case we haven't given that one away already, is definitely going to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes. I love Sam Raimi. I want to take that for a second before people crucify me on this. I love Sam Raimi. I grew up on Sam Raimi. Drag Me to Hell is one of my favorite movies. I walked away with that movie thinking either Sam Raimi is out of touch or Sam Raimi was restricted way too much.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it was, and quite frankly, I don't care. That movie just wasn't hyper entertaining. I think we agreed off mic that the only reason it didn't make it into either one of our top threes was that when you put all of our bottom lists together, that would probably be the one we'd still want to see the most out of all of them. But I know there's all these pressure going on all of the special effects houses, but the special effects were really poor.
I wouldn't even say the special effects. While I agree with you, they're not the level of what we're used to in an MCU movie, and I understand. They're overworked. They're catching up from the pandemic. There's a lot of things at play, but the story itself, just the movie, and I feel because this was handed off so many times, I was really excited for Marvel's first real horror movie when they announced this was going to be Marvel's first real horror movie, and that Scott Derrickson was going to take the lead again because he did the first one. And I love Scott Derrickson. I love his horror movies. I think they're great. I love the fact that he did Sinister. Sinister is great.
Which one was Sinister?
You've never seen it.
Okay, I couldn't.
He also is the director behind Black Phone.
Ooh, she still wants.
Which we want to see. He did The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which I loved.
Nope.
There's quite a bit in it. Anyway, I like his take on horror. I love Sam Raimi's take on horror, but this was not a horror movie. This was not scary.
I like my definition of my description. I should say definition. My description of this movie was 2000s Sam Raimi, fresh off of Spider-Man, directs Doctor Strange in modern times as though he was directing it back then.
True. A lot of throwback to his own style and his own films.
Too much
of it. Another problem for me was this was not a Doctor Strange movie. Doctor Strange was a sidekick in his own movie. This movie would have been better off if it was a Wanda Scarlet Witch solo movie.
Scarlet Witch and the Multiverse of Madness. Let her be the antagonist. And then, because in the end, she still does, the right thing. She destroys the temple and all the knowledge is lost in the Darkhold can never be used again. But so much of it was focused on her, on America Chavez. It was, if we were doing Strange Academy, like in the comics, and he was taking out more of a teacher role, I'd understand, but that's not what's happening. And I really just feel like you nailed it when you said he was felt like a sidekick in his own movie.
Yes, I've had an issue with Doctor Strange for a little bit now, though. I liked the first movie a lot. It's probably in my top 5, if not top 10, right? Mm-hmm. I like the character himself. I like mythic, fantasy, horror, all that kind of genre stuff.
Eldritch.
Love it. I was starting to notice they don't know what to do with him, I feel. Both in Spider-Way No Way Home.
Or how to put a wig on him.
Or how to put a wig on him, too, apparently. I don't know if they just don't know what to do with a character with that type of power levels.
Level of power, yeah.
Or they were thinking that he was going to lead the next round of Avengers. I don't think that's really where Doctor Strange should end up.
No.
But it was just felt very much like rushed to make Scarlet Witch a villain, rushed to get her out, which is sad because I like Scarlet Witch too. House of M is a great comic book. If you've ever read it, it's great. It's probably one of Maximus at her peak, right? Scarlet Witch at the peak, I think. And I loved WandaVision. Loved WandaVision. I think WandaVision was a great story of grief. And it just did not flow well. Did not flow well to me for her to be so sorry for what she did in WandaVision to then turn into the villain here.
She was corrupted by the Darkhold.
But then they should have portrayed that there should have been an in-between storyline somewhere, or in between story somewhere.
Right. She went from repentful to I'm going to fuck shit up until I get my way.
Yeah. And then the actress who plays
America Chavez.
America Chavez felt like she didn't want to be there.
Xochitl Gomez. Yeah, I mean, you always bring up the tease scene, that really bad feint that she does.
Yeah,
and
you bring up the fact that she looks like
complain.
she can't punch. Nobody's taught her how to punch.
They couldn't get her a single motion coach. There's not a single stunt guy on set that could show her how to throw a punch. It was terrible.
Now there are some really good things about the movie too. There are some, like, I liked Zombie Strange. I thought that visually was kind of cool.
But that falls into that Sam Raimi congratulating himself.
I liked his relationship with,
that was really his kind of zombie.
Christine Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really nice way of tying up ends.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. Illuminati, meh, not so much.
Be on the lookout for Invisible Woman.
So I was really interested in the Illuminati part, where I was like, okay, she's able to kill all these people, but why was she able to kill Captain Marvel so easily? Because Thanos couldn't. But then when I rewatched it, I looked at it. She was actually sucking the power out of Captain Marvel. If you look at right before Captain Marvel dies by being crushed, because normally if she was crushed, she wouldn't die, right?
Right.
Superpowers. But if you look at it, her like costume and stuff is starting to come off of her suit, and it's starting to go in the direction of Wanda. And it's because Wanda was doing what she was going to do.
Siphoning her power.
She was siphoning, and then made her human in a sense, and then she was able to be killed.
Crushed.
I thought Peggy Carter as Captain Carter was pretty cool.
Getting cut in half by the shield.
But I thought her portrayal of it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then
the horror that was Professor X going in her mind.
That was okay, I'll give that. Raimi directed that pretty well.
Yeah.
But Black Bolt,
yeah.
the Inhuman King, who by the way is supposed to make a
You mean Blagar Boltagon?
I guess they're calling him the Inhuman King.
Yeah, that's
now.
What
right?
He is the Inhuman King.
Okay. He's supposed to come back at some point too. The rumor is that MCU is going to be utilizing him again.
Infinite Universes. He was the first one to pop his own head.
Yeah, the movie just felt, again, not a horror movie, not what was promised, and it was just such a letdown.
Come see Scarlet Witch and the Multiverse of Madness. I would have been all about it.
Yeah,
but let's talk about what would you put in your fourth place runner-up for tops.
For tops, other than Endgame.
Yes. Yeah, I already covered Endgame. I'll take that off your list. I know what my answer is.
Number 4 in my tops, I would have to say, that's a hard one for me. Looking back, I'd have to go with maybe the first Avengers.
Oh, man. I remember, age myself. I had the soundtrack to the original Avengers
first
on CD.
I would have to say first the first Avenger movie, not first Avenger because that's Captain America.
Right.
The first Avenger movie. I mean, Iron Man. All the Iron Mans have a special place in my heart too. I love Robert Downey's portrayal of Tony Stark. I can't see anybody else ever portraying Tony Stark. Especially Iron Man 3. Not a lot of people liked it, but I did. It also holds
made it extra special for you.
Yeah, it also holds a special place. But I would definitely say like the first Avenger. Well, looking back on it, it probably needed a lot of help, right? But it was their first time taking all of these major characters and bringing them all together and trying to make a story work and flow. And I thought it was great. I also, who directed it? He's the problem child right now.
Joss Whedon.
Yes. Joss Whedon, which
2 S's, no H, Joss.
I definitely could see his sense of humor in the script, in the movie, and in a whole. But yes, I would have to say I would put Avengers. Now, Age of Ultron, not so much. Avengers, though, I would say that would be my honorary 4th place.
In my honorary 4th place, and this is gonna be one that people are gonna disagree with, but I'm actually gonna go ahead and I'm placing Love and Thunder on the outside of my top 3.
Wow.
That's until I see it again. Like I said, that movie's not gonna hit everybody the same way. But I gotta say that it hits me in the feels, makes me laugh. I enjoyed the action, the adventure of it. I want to see it again. and that'll really help me cement it. And maybe we'll revisit the top 3 again here sometime. Maybe the next time we get some big Marvel news, I can let you all know how I'm feeling about Love and Thunder.
I would also like to do because we didn't include the TV shows for a reason. They get a lot of bit more room because they have a bigger budget. Well, not bigger budget, but they have more time to tell a story. So I would love to see what your top shows are too as well. Maybe that'd be a future episode
later.
Let's get through what they're going to be announcing. But I would say that would be our top MCU movies that we love and hate. I hope maybe we've changed your mind about one that maybe you didn't like. Maybe we changed your mind about one.
Think about it a little bit more than you
love.
did.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with loving quote unquote bad movies.
She's quoting me right now
because Chris loves
like Greenland. I don't love
Ryan Reynolds Greenland.
I do enjoy watching Green Lantern. Now I don't go out of my way to put it on, but if I were to flip on the TV and it was on, I would watch it. I hold the firm belief that it is absolutely okay to enjoy garbage films, provided you understand that it's not the best film in the world. I mean, listen, if you enjoy, and that's absolutely fine. You do you. But Green Lantern, for whatever reason, for me, just had a soft spot in my heart. I used to be a huge Green Lantern fan, which is why.
Yeah. I can't think of any bad movies I really enjoy, though. And you're staring at me because you know.
I actually can't think of any, although I feel like I should be able to come up with some off the top of my head.
Most of them are DCU movies.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true. But I hope you enjoyed this, and we're going to get into just really quickly what we think the MCU is going to be going on from this point on.
We're going to be talking the future 5. Of the MCU in Phase 5.
Look, I'm sorry about that little show back there, but we thought it best to break it to you slowly.
All right, before we end the episode today,
we're going to talk a little bit about Phase 5 and what Marvel's got coming up here in the future.
I feel Phase 4 was a little weak. Not going to lie. It was a little hard, but pandemic.
So let's call it Phase 5 with Phase 4 in review.
Yeah, right? There's a couple TV. Yeah, there's a couple TV shows coming out. I think we're going to get a whole different lineup come San Diego Comic-Con. I don't think it's going to be as expected as it was originally when it was announced a couple years back between Phase 4 and Phase 5. I am super excited for Blade. That is probably the highlight for me.
Yeah, Blade's going to be pretty excellent. I know that they're going to do planning on a Sam Wilson Captain America, which, big fingers crossed on that one. Cap's one of my favorites, so I want to see them do this right.
I also think we're going to get some mutants. Definitely for sure after Miss Marvel.
Heading in that direction, I think we're going to spend maybe a phase getting that fully established here in the near future, and that'd be pretty exciting.
I also know we're getting a season 2 of Loki.
For sure. I don't know.
They're filming right now.
Are they filming that right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
They are filming it right now. I would be interested to see also how Kang the Conqueror works out, because we've been teased with him a little bit here and a little bit there, and it hasn't come to fruition.
Well, wait till we get to Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania.
That's true. That's coming out as well.
Yep.
So do you think Kang is going to be our next big Thanos, or do you think it's going to be Doctor Doom?
Oof. They both have every capability of being the next big bad. Not the big bad for this movie, not the big bad for like 2 movies. Being like, that solid drumming up of big villain hype. That big Thanos energy.
We're also missing out. We haven't seen Valentina in a while.
Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Character. We haven't seen her in a while since Hawkeye.
Nope, I think she's putting together
Thunderbolt.
I think it's going to be a Thunderbolts
or Dark Avenger. That's what I'm thinking.
I think it'd be a Disney Plus series.
Oh yeah. Because I don't think we see the last of John Walker as U.S. agent
for sure.
I also think we're going to get some Young Avengers going on.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work in that general direction. I mean, we've technically had Wiccan and Speed. We have Kate Bishop. We had Eli Bradley. So what do we need?
Yelena.
Well, no, Yelena's not a Young
Avenger. Yelena would be more
of
a Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers. Yeah, she's a little too old to be a Young Avenger.
Yeah, so we got Hulkling, which would be a hard one, but
Ironheart. Oh, well, Ironheart's another one.
Ironheart's the champion.
Another one we're thinking that's coming out. I think it's going to be a complete flip of what they were expecting it to be. I think they are going into Mutant Fantastic Four territory now. I think they're ready to. There's going to be some cool shows. Agatha is getting her own spinoff show too.
I'm excited. What is the rumor of the Nova film is being worked on? I don't know yet if they've chosen if it's going to be Richard Rider or Sam Alexander. I'd be pretty excited for both. I think it should be Richard Rider though. Once again, let us know.
Yeah. Either way, I think they've got a lot of making up to do for Phase 4.
And I think they are able to do it. I think the biggest problem with Phase 4, and I think you agree with me, audience. I know I do this a lot. Also, let me know what you think. I really feel that everything in Phase 4 just felt like a trailer for the next movie.
Yep.
I feel like they stopped putting out Marvel films and they just started putting out 2-hour Marvel trailers.
Yep. I also think sometimes there needs to be a little bit of hardship to get to the next point, right? And anything you do in life. So while the 10 years building up to Endgame was thought out, was put together, was really well done, they wanted to experiment a little bit. I think Phase 4 was the experiment. Let's see what characters we can bring to screen. Let's see what kind of writers we need. And then I think they're going to take what was done well and what wasn't done so well and maybe, rocket ship to the moon with Phase 5. Like, finally, just, no holds bar. Let's get out there. Let's do this. I don't think they'll ever recapture the magic of the first 10 years. I think that's really, really hard to do so, especially leading up to Endgame. But I would be really excited to see characters that you never would have thought in a million years to get screen time.
Well, let's get the mutants going then. We can get rid of the What If series and start going with the Exiles. Let's get Blink going. We can start exploring and saving the multiverse, as it were.
And give me a true Doctor Strange horror movie. There's so much horror in Marvel. From Moon Knight to other characters in it, Dracula's in Marvel. Give me a true horror movie. Give it
Frankencastle.
Adults want it. There's not a child that wants to go see a Blade movie. You know who wants to see a Blade movie?
That want to see a Blade movie.
Everybody that watched Blade back in the 90s. That's who wants to see a Blade movie, okay? Even that shitty Ryan Reynolds sequel one, okay?
Hey, listen, Blade Trinity wasn't that bad. And give me Wesley Snipes as Whistler. That'd be great.
Oh, that'd be so cool. But that's what I have for Phase 5. I thank you, everyone, for listening in. Please, again, give us a review, a comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. And we'll be sharing Comic-Con news in our next episode.
Check out our website at InsideAllDayPodcast.com. They'll give you links to all of our different social media. We'd love to engage with you on there. Let us know what you're thinking. We can't wait to see you guys for our next episode where we're going to be covering a lot of that San Diego Comic-Con news. We'll be using our best asset available to us to bring you that news, Baskin Robbins. Because remember, Baskin Robbins always finds out. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us.